Hey everyone, I'm Nat Eliason,
I'm David Perell.
and we are getting David migrated into Rome, finally.
It's about time.
Yeah, I've been pestering you about this for months.
I tried.
Yeah.
It didn't quite work. I tried again. It didn't work. It didn't stick. I've been using Evernote for a while, and I just feel like the delta between what I have with Evernote and what you're saying I can have with Rome just isn't that big. But you are insisting that's not the case, so let's give it a shot.
I literally drove to David's house to force him to do this migration. So
And now we're in my room.
now we're in his bedroom, going to do a little Rome migration, but I think it's going to make the most sense if we've got both laptops going. So I'm going to run into a separate room so our audio doesn't overlap, and we're going to kick this thing. Actually, before we do that, what was the biggest barrier? It was just that it was too much to like get started? Or?
Okay, I'll go on a little rant here.
Yeah, no, let's do it.
So a couple barriers that are tough. So the first is that I've saved a lot of tweets and stuff that I'm not going to be able to easily export. And those tweets and just like little snippets from emails and stuff, I save a lot of that, and I feel like I can't just export that really easily. And then the second thing is I don't actually like writing in Rome. A lot of the benefit is actually writing in your note-taking app because it makes it instantly searchable. So the drafts that I do now can become repurposed into articles in the future. And then on top of that, I felt like a lot of the keyboard shortcuts and stuff, which really make it come to life, I just didn't understand them. And then if I had one final one, it was that I have certain notes that are like, that I've been building up in ways that are actually very networked over time, almost intuiting a lot of the benefits of Rome. And so, for example, I have one note that is no longer just an article. It has become like a note that is now all about one view on like the state of media and how information consumption is changing. And that note just like, it means a lot to me. Like I'm in and out of it all the time. And so like my notes have very much transcended specific articles and stuff. And so I just didn't feel like the delta between what I had with Evernote to Rome was that big. And I feel like the benefit of having a note-taking system is having everything in one place so that you can search your entire mind. And the second that it's in two places, you actually lose more. You get, in a way, like less than half of the value because there's compounding returns to having everything in the right place.
Cool. That makes a lot of sense. Are you cool with sharing the media article? Because that would actually be a really good place to start then.
Great. Let's do that.
All right. I'm going to run to the other room. Let's do it. So it looks like that the article that we were talking about in person is going to be a little complicated. So let's start here because I asked David what his favorite notebook is, and he said this news essay one was like his favorite notebook. So what I always recommend with people migrating into Rome is just start with like the Evernote notebook that brings you the most joy, because migrating that in is going to be the most motivating. So and where I think people get really overwhelmed, and this would be especially easy for you, like David has 12,000 notes in his Evernote, right? So this dude's like a crazy note taker. Hopefully most people listening don't have quite that many, but this, no matter how many you have, this is like a really good way to filter it down. So yeah, starting with the notebook that gives you like the most joy and excitement is perfect. So we've got that up. Show me your Rome database as it is right now.
Okay, so I haven't done anything with it in a while, since April 3rd.
Awesome. So you don't have a ton in it. That's cool. Looks like you've got some metadata there in the sidebar. You want to open that page up?
Yeah, I did everything that you did at the time.
Awesome. Books, videos, articles, author recommended by tags, source. Cool. This is all great. This is really good. Start. And do you use like text expander or anything for hotkeys?
Yes, I forgot exactly what the codes were, but I use Alfred and then a text expander through that.
Okay, cool. I'll send you my CSS too, by the way, David, because you might actually like this. So for anybody else, because I know you're a very visual person and you don't like ugly things. So I think that you might like having this. So let me stop share. I'll send this to you, and then I'll tell you how to use it. All right, so go to that link that I just chatted you. That's a public version of my CSS. Copy that, just copy all of it. Like don't open anything, just put your mouse there and copy it, go back, select everything and paste it. Boom. There you go.
Boom.
All right, that's much easier. All right, cool.
Cool.
Good to go. All right, so let's go back to your daily notes page.
Cool.
And okay, so we got David's roam looking pretty. We'll link to a tutorial on how to do this as well because it's a very common question. It took us a little longer than we expected. But David, go ahead and go back to metadata. I just want to make sure that the tags are looking nice for you.
Nice.
Boom. All right, this is a good
Game
start.
changer.
Okay. Now go ahead and shift click metadata, either the title or in the sidebar. You might have to click it in the sidebar, just shift click on it. So you see it on the side. Sorry.
How do I do that?
But like on the sidebar under shortcuts, you know, on the left.
Oh, so like
yeah, just shift click that.
It. Oh, okay, there we go.
Boom. Yeah. All right. Now let's go back to your daily note for the main view.
Cool.
And then let's go to Evernote.
Cool.
All right. So we got all of these good notes on news essay. Let's take a couple that, you know, might be kind of related to each other. So
why don't we do a history of television, and then I can do some CNN stuff and stuff like that. Oh, this is just a section. So why don't we do the fairness doctrine?
Cool. All right, this is great. So just go ahead and select all of this.
Cool.
Copy it, go back to Rome.
Okay.
And then I'm going to make a new page called FCC Fairness Doctrine, or however you want to call it.
Yep. And then what do I click to
Control
slide right into
O.
the page? What?
Control O. We'll take you straight to that page.
Beautiful.
Boom. And then go ahead and paste it in.
Okay.
All right, nice. Okay, now go ahead and get your articles metadata from the side. You don't need to copy the word articles, just those.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sweet. And then you can move the Wikipedia article into the source.
Is there any way to automatically do that, or is that always just kind of a tedious?
Yeah, there'd be a way to do it automatically if the whole line were that, but if you want to put it after the source attribute, then no. If it's empty for recommended by, probably just delete that line. You don't have to have it. So like instead of putting NA, you could just delete it.
Okay.
And then I would make Wikipedia linked. So I'd highlight that and put it in the, because then if you want to find everything you've ever gotten from Wikipedia, this will, hold on, undo everything you just did.
Okay.
Now highlight Wikipedia.
Yep.
And type the left bracket twice.
Boom.
Yes, that makes it a little bit speedier.
Great. Yep.
So then just add a few tags based on whatever you think comes to mind, like remembering this document.
And when do you decide to do a tag versus double brackets?
Purely visual. So functionally, they're exactly the same. I just like to use tags when I don't want to read the information in my head, and I use double brackets when I do want to read it. So I'll show you an example of that in a moment here. So for example, on that first block, you probably wouldn't need to link FCC since you have FCC linked at the page level, right?
Yep.
But let me just find another good one that might be linkable.
I mean, this, right?
Well, no, because that's just another name for FCC, right?
Got it.
And you already linked FCC at the page level for the tags. So you don't need to
like
be
United States Supreme Court.
Yeah, so that would be a good one to either link the whole thing or just Supreme Court, up to you. And then in the Redline Broadcasting Co. v. FCC, I'd probably link that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oops. So I don't even need to press enter. Why isn't that happening automatically?
Why isn't what happening automatically?
It's not going blue automatically.
Oh, it's because you're still in that paragraph. So when you're in the paragraph, it's in edit mode, but once you click out of it, it'll be in like the finished mode where you'll see the link.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, then maybe you'd link like the name of the case, like the Redline Broadcasting Co. VFCC.
Yep. So that almost seems like a added layer to progressive summarization. It's like as if the top layer is linking the things that you think are most relevant.
Exactly. That's something I talk about in the course. People who are familiar with building a second brain and with progressive summarization is that layer one is doing the linking to the other pages, because that stands out as you're skimming it, right? You're seeing Supreme Court, you're seeing the name of the case, and that's going to help you quickly interpret what else this document's related to. And now what's really great about it is if you like go to that Supreme Court page that you made, so you can just click on that quickly. Right now you can see that you mentioned it in your FCC fairness doctrine, right?
Right.
And so now we're starting to get into some of the things that are just harder to do in Evernote, to have these kind of relations between stuff. So go back to the doc we were just on. And what I would say, and if you want to speed up the going back and forth, command left bracket will take you back, command right bracket will take you forward.
Oh, wow. How do you learn all these?
That's a good question. I don't know how I know all these. Well, that one's actually a standard browser hotkey. That's not a Roam hotkey. Like you can do that on any web page.
Got it.
But so you've got that, and you could definitely like go through and like link, a lot more stuff in here probably. But for the sake of the video, maybe we should pull in a couple other documents.
Yep.
But yeah, if anything stands out.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go back to Evernote quickly.
Okay.
And then see what else stands out. Okay, so I see you've actually got something on the fairness doctrine here. What is that? It's up 2 notes.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, this is just a different argument. And
awesome.
So as you can see, one of the things I do when I read, and I've actually forced myself to do this in Kindle, is whenever I make a highlight, because I made too many highlights, is when I read a book, I write a note for almost every highlight that I make. And as you can see, they sort of stand out here. And it's a really good way to limit yourself from making highlights and just basically make the work required to do it a little bit higher.
Okay, so this is really cool. Let's copy this one. Now, is this from a web page or is this from a book?
This from a web page.
It's from a web page, okay. And is it like the text of the fairness doctrine?
I don't think it is. I think it is an analysis of it.
Analysis?
Yeah.
Okay. Either way,
the writing is too clear to be the text of a
to be the actual text. Yeah, I hear you. Okay, cool. So go back to Roam.
Okay.
And one thing I'm going to recommend here is, since this is a Wikipedia article, but it's about a thing like the FCC fairness doctrine. For me, with Wikipedia pages, I add -Wikipedia to the name, and that just makes it really clear in search results and stuff that this is my. Slash is fine too. Slash or dash, whatever you prefer. This is like really helpful for me to know that this isn't the actual fairness doctrine. It's the Wikipedia page on it. Cool. So now we can make another page for what you just copied. And instead of going back to the daily notes, you can totally do it that way too.
Yep.
What I'll often do is I'll just hit Command U. And then I'll just type in the name of the new document. So I think it's just the fairness doctrine, right?
Yep.
So type that in and then hit enter, boom, and go ahead and paste, and then pull in the metadata. And this is where the hotkeys get really nifty, because like I've got a XRMA hotkey for plugging in the article metadata automatically. So it takes like a quarter second to do it instead of having to copy and paste your metadata all the time.
I have something that
you want to check in Alfred quickly? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a snippet. Yeah, see Roam articles, XRMA.
Oh, perfect. Okay, let's just start doing that.
Okay, so let's just practice now.
Let's try and make sure it works.
And I go XRMA, and it automatically populates.
Yeah. You can move in the URL.
There we go.
Add some other articles, FCC, or add tags, yeah.
And then do you usually have it one word here or two words?
Well, so in this case, you've just linked it to itself, which isn't really necessary,
Oh, got
right?
it.
Because the name of this page is Fairness Doctrine.
Would I want a tag for Fairness Doctrine or no?
You probably would, yeah. So you might. So what I would do personally is I would make a page FCC Fairness Doctrine, and then I would call this one like Fairness Doctrine parentheses analysis or something.
Got it.
Because it's not the actual Fairness Doctrine. So you could do a tag, and then so one thing that's useful to know is you can do tag and then double brackets, and that's the same as a tag. So you do tag double brackets.
So how do I make a tag like that?
Or sorry,
page.
The square brackets.
Okay. So like this.
Yeah, and then type Fairness Doctrine, exactly.
Got it. Okay.
And now that's its own page, and it'll show up as a tag.
Cool.
So now you've got that, and then you could put in the author and recommended by stuff later. But let me show you what I do with these notes that you added, because this is like a really good example of where you start to get some value. Right. So go down to where you say important reasoning.
Okay.
Cool. And then what I want you to do is just delete that line.
Okay.
Then go to the block above it.
Yep.
And at the very end of it, so like after that last close parens, do hashtag lowercase important. Cool. And then you can just delete that empty bullet below it.
Right.
All right. Now go to the very top right of the page. It might be hidden under the Zoom window if yours looks the same as mine. Like go all the way up to the top right on that little filter and click on that, and then click important.
Wow.
Good. Now you're only looking at the important stuff on this page. All right. So if you've got a big page and you want to call out certain things for the future as like really important notes, now you've got a super quick way to do it without having to like scan through to find where you made a note to yourself that this is important.
Wow, that's a huge bonus for books, because you end up with hundreds of highlights and a really good one, but it's a pain to look through. Nice.
Yeah. So here, let me show you another cool example of that.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen again.
Go for it.
Because I think this part takes a little bit longer to get into, but it's another like great way to use it. So if we go to my page for the V2 of the course, like this is, everything that I had to do leading up to it, and like timeline, all the tasks and all of that. If you've got a big project like this, you can just go ahead and filter by everything that still needs like to do, right? So like leftover tasks that still need to be like finished. And then if there were a lot more to-dos, I could also filter by like, oh, what are the emails that I still need to send and on what dates, right? Because I've got the email tag in these. So this stuff gets like super, super nifty, being able to just filter for your tags on the page. Because it's kind of like you were saying before, it's another layer of progressive summarization. If you're adding like important or things like that, then when you're on the page for a book, you can really quickly scan for the info you want. So that's like a pretty powerful feature when you start using it for annotating your like books or your other really long pages.
Yep. Cool.
So go ahead and hop back in.
Okay. Here we go.
And then you can turn off that filter. Yeah, you just click on the word important and it'll go away.
Got it.
Now let's go to your other one where it says excellent quote.
Right here?
Yeah. And then we're just going to delete that. And then on the block above, I'll do hashtag quote or something like that. So I wouldn't do, so here's what I would do is, I would just do like quote or something.
Yeah.
And then if you want to have different levels of quote, you could say like hashtag excellent, and then you can filter for the words quote and excellent, because you might also have other things that are excellent, right? So it's useful to keep that as separate instead of creating tons of like quote ratings.
Yep.
But the other thing you could do here is, one kind of annoying thing with Roam is that that block that you're on won't pull in the tags from the one above it. So it could be good to add another hashtag for what this is an excellent quote about. So like hashtag quote politics,
American
maybe
politics. Yeah.
American politics. Yeah,
So would you have it like that?
exactly.
Okay.
And if you wanted to if you wanted to specify for yourself in the future that it's American politics, I would do that, and then I would do another hashtag for America.
Pretty fun doing hashtag America. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, right. Hashtag. Because now, like this is really fun, right? So click off of this block,
Okay.
and then click on that quote hashtag you just created.
Yep.
So now we're on the quote page, and you've only used it once, right? But you could use that filter, not the one up there, but the one right below it in the middle of the page.
Ah.
And that filters all the references. So now you can filter any time that you've used quote and politics in any block across all of your database, and you'll get all of your politics quotes right there.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. So let's go back and let's see if there's anything else we can. Go ahead.
This is a very Romy thing, but if I do this, will that change? Yep, it looks
Changes
like
it everywhere.
Sweet.
Yeah. Changes it everywhere.
Great. Back to Evernote?
No. Go ahead and go back to fairness doctrine analysis. You can just click on it right there.
Wait, so control.
Yeah, or command left square bracket.
That's right. Okay, cool.
All right, and let's scroll down. Let's see if you had any other notes to yourself.
I don't think I do.
Cool. Now, one other thing I would recommend for you is you might want to process this a bit more later, right? Like you might not be done with doing the progressive summarization, right? Like you're seeing, I can tell that you're seeing things that you want to link, right?
Yeah, it's getting
like,
fun.
It's like kind of getting fun. So what I would do is go up to the top,
okay,
and in the tags, just add a hashtag inbox.
Okay.
And this is what I do to remind myself of things that I haven't finished processing yet. Because then if you like click on your inbox tag there, it'll just take you to everything that you've like started on, but you haven't like finished processing. So here's where this gets really nifty. I'm going to share my screen again.
Okay.
So we haven't quite gotten there yet, but do you already use Readwise? I
do.
Okay, perfect. So you're going to love this then. All right, so if we go to my inbox, this is all the stuff that I need to process and finish formatting. So when I open this up, you can see that I've got this like author, this URL, some of these tags. I've got a reminder to add this to a future medley. And we've got all the highlights from this page that Readwise automatically added. And Readwise actually added all of this metadata up above as well, including like the author colon and whatnot. And it added the inbox tag so that I know I just need to go to my inbox and process the stuff that I've read recently. So whenever I finish an article, finish a book, like whatnot, Readwise takes it, pipes it into the Roam database, and then I can just go look at my inbox and see all the new stuff I've read that I need to take the notes or like update the notes from.
Right.
So everything you're doing right now with like the XRMA and whatnot, you won't have to do for stuff that you're not migrating from Evernote unless you like read it on its own and then you want to paste stuff in. Because if you're reading on like Instapaper, Pocket, Kindle, wherever, Readwise is automatically going to do your metadata formatting for you.
So where do you differ with Tiago in terms of like Tiago only summarizes things opportunistically? Do you, it seems like you do a lot more in advance formatting in your free time.
Not necessarily. I mean, most of the time when I go through it in the beginning, I'll only do like the first layer of Roam para, which would be the interlinking to other stuff, right? So on this one, I'd probably like link this to glycemic load, since that's going to be relevant. And, I'd add some other tags here, right? Like diabetes, insulin sensitivity or resistance, right? A couple of like those high level tags, health, nutrition, diet, any of that. And then one way I like to remind myself of other tags to add is I'll take one of these and I'll open it in the sidebar.
Yep.
And then I can click this little 3 and that'll show me other times I've referenced it. It's like vegetable oils, inflammation, not really, insulin resistance, Alzheimer's. Okay, so not a ton there, but what about like diabetes references? nutrition, diabetes, cancer, prediabetes. Yeah, it's like not a ton. Maybe prediabetes. Can add that. Prediabetes. And then I would like uninbox this, right? So, and if it were a book, I'd, it would take a little bit longer, obviously, to go through all of it. But this is just like a really good first step to getting it in the database. Then I could always come back and add more par later.
And about how much time do you spend a week doing this?
Depends on how much I read, honestly, right? Because like I want to keep the inbox low. So if I'm reading a ton, then there's going to be more work to do. And if I'm just reading a little bit, then there's going to be less work, right? Kind of all depends on that. That was another cool feature that I just did. If you have 2 pages that are the same thing, so like if I accidentally created inbox, right, with a lowercase I, and then added like notes on meeting with David, and this should be in the capital I inbox.
Yep.
Right, but it's now I've created a 3rd page. Oh no, it should be here, right? But I can go to here and I can change this to capital I inbox, and then it'll merge the pages, and then boom, it's all together now.
Nice.
It's really helpful when you accidentally create duplicates, like I do all the time. Or for this one, we just delete this because it doesn't need to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, let's hop back into yours. All right. So now go ahead and let's go back to Evernote.
So like if I go to a book, this is the news by Alan de Botton. So there's some notes in here.
Cool. All right, let's go ahead and copy this. Just copy the whole doc.
Yeah. This is the one. This is something I do a lot is I'll find something, I'll see something like this was at the gym, and I'll find an image and I'll throw it into notes. And so This is what I mean. Like I sort of had the intuition for the way that things should be linked, but supposedly Rome, will do a much better job of this.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and copy this.
Okay.
And now there's a couple things here. I'm not 100% sure how it's going to go, but.
So make it down here.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
And how do you classify books? Like the news - book?
Nope. I would just call it the news.
Okay.
If I needed to clarify it later, I might. So for me, I'd probably put like parentheses book. So like in this case, yeah, because it's such a generic name, the news. Yeah. If it were named like, Anti-Fragile, then right. I wouldn't, but for this case, yeah, I'd probably put book. Okay.
That transferred pretty well.
Yeah, everything came over pretty nicely, but so there's 2 big things that you're not going to love. The bolding and highlighting just don't come over very well. So click into any of those blocks that has some bolding.
Okay.
And you're going to see it's sort of a mess. Okay, that one's all right. Go to the next one. This one's actually not so bad either. I wonder if they cleaned this up at all. Because this is coming in better. That one, the one that you just clicked in was, let's see. So basically, any paragraph that has highlighting, the bolding is going to get kind of messed up because the highlighting doesn't transfer, since that's not it's not like actually part of the markdown language, right? It's just something that Rome adds on top. So highlighting is sadly not going to come over. So if you want to preserve your exact bolding and highlighting, you're going to have to kind of like manually change that, or you can do what I did and just sacrifice the highlighting and redo it again later. Yeah. Because I just copied it all over with the bolding, and then I said, you know what, I can re-highlight stuff later. It's fine. And the location deep links came over nicely, so you're totally good there. It'd be up to you if you want to keep them that called out. I personally would probably move them as like little links to the end of the paragraph, because I don't like how it's breaking up the view. But that's just me.
So you would move these?
Yeah, I would copy that whole thing and cut it. Yeah, not copy it, cut it, I guess. Yeah. And then go down to the block below it and just add it at the very end.
Oh, got it. Like here.
Yeah. just because like I don't love how much visual real estate it's taking up. It's not that important of information for it to be that called out. That's just me though.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not worth doing manually. It's good to know that you can do that. When Readwise imports it, does it have the same thing?
No, so the way Readwise imports it, it's much cleaner. Here, I can show you how it looks when Readwise imports it.
Cool.
It just looks like this. So
Wow.
parentheses, page
Way better.
32, page 40. And yeah, you can see how I've marked this up with like the bolding and the interlinking, right? Like this is what it would look like after you've done some like row and progressive summarization. And this is
My
the other
biggest
thing that I'll do
concern
that.
looking at this is that you're spending so much time sort of within the note rather than working with the note. And it looks like you're doing this much less opportunistically than Tiago would.
So this one in particular was part of the course. So I did more upfront work than I normally would. If we go to another book I recently read, so there are two reasons I did more work on this one than I might normally do upfront. Or here, we'll just go to like Power Broker because I recently read that and I think there's like very little markup on it. Yeah, so I did some bolding, but there's not a ton of like other stuff linked out to it because I figure I'll just like potentially come back to it or I might not. The reason that Sacred Cow is so marked up is because if we go to my RegAg page, I was showing how you would pull in other pages to create like a meta page.
Got it.
So,
how'd you get notes from Power Broker?
oh, dude, Readwise has OCR scanning.
Ah.
Yeah, so you've got it. So this is the whole reason I've switched back to reading physical books. If you open the Readwise app and you go to like their add highlights section,
Yep.
there's this little camera,
Yep.
and then you can just take a picture of pages of a book, and it scans the page, then lets you highlight words on the page, and then exports them into your Readwise database. So what I'll do is I'll read a physical book and I'll sticky tab things that I want to highlight later. And then it takes like 10, 15 minutes when I'm done to go through and OCR in all the highlights. So then I get the satisfaction of reading a physical book, but all of the like benefits of highlighting on a Kindle.
Nice. Great.
Yeah, it's super cool. Okay, so, but what I was going to show you here is what I've actually done is, so this is like the RegAg Wikipedia, right?
Yep.
So here's all these notes on doing regenerative agriculture from the Wikipedia page, but then this is my like head page for regenerative agriculture. And so if we look at the Wikipedia page, these are like my summary notes from the Wikipedia page, right? These are the most important things that I called out. And on the main page, I wanted to pull these in. So what you would have to do in Evernote, right, is like we would copy this and paste it, but then they kind of like are living in two places.
Mm-hmm.
So instead, we can highlight them and hold down Option and drag them over.
Yep.
And now we've got these like linked references. So if I ever want to see where this came from, I can open it in the sidebar and see like, oh, it came from the regenerative agriculture page, right? I can remember exactly where it came from. And then if I changed anything here, it's going to change over here as well, right? So we only have to write things once. And this is where it gets like really nifty for like writing articles and stuff, because you can start like, you can write down a bunch of ideas in one place and then you can reference them by pulling them in. And so if I were, let me give you a cool example here. Like, actually, I wonder if, we go to this. Yeah, so here's a good example. So this was the article I wrote on like eating meat while caring about the environment. This definition of blue water, I basically, instead of like copying and paste it or having to write it over again, all I did was like go to where I had it originally in this What is a Water Footprint article. And then you can drag in the reference. And then if you want to like make changes while preserving the original, you can just like click on any reference and replace it with raw text so that now it's standalone. It's not a linked reference anymore.
Right.
Or you can just keep it linked to the original. So you can like play around with your existing data a lot better. And that was part of why I asked you when we started if you had links to other places in your Evernote where you were getting those notes from to make those meta pages, because it seems like you didn't, because that is a really hard thing to do in Evernote, but that gets like really easy as you start building out your Roam database.
Right.
Yeah. But let's hop back into yours. We'll show a few other cool
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah,
then
I'm curious to know like how far so like, of this, how much will I want to transfer? Will I just want to import with Readwise just everything I've read and sort of say, okay, I'm going to start with 80%. When you transfer, did you transfer your entire Evernote?
no, and I still haven't. So what I did, and the reason I asked you about like which notebook sparks the most joy, is I personally realized I just like didn't need most of the notes in my Evernote. So I just pulled stuff over as I needed it. And whenever I like start going into a new area in my Roam database, I'll go check my Evernote to see what notes I have on that area, and then I'll bring them over. So when I started doing stuff on, if I start doing stuff on health, or like, I'm going on a hunt in November, so I need to pull over my hunting notes from Evernote into Roam because they're not there yet. Or if I like, get more back into photography, I'll pull out my Evernote photography notes into Roam, and those kinds of things, because it's like doing 2,000 notes is just a fucking slog, right? And you don't want to pollute your database. And the other reason too is like, you're going to change how you do your metadata and stuff. Like that's all going to evolve. And so if your usage is evolving, you don't want to have 1,000 old notes stuck in your old way of using it. You'd want to be like bringing stuff in as you improve your process.
Yep. Okay. So you want to do one more?
Yeah, let's do one more. Just see what else we find.
Let's do one on, well, this one.
You got to share your screen again.
Oh yeah. Let's do one on, I love this idea, on common knowledge. No, I wrote that. So, well, that's fine. It doesn't really matter past a certain point if I wrote it or if somebody else did. So we'll take this.
Cool. Copy it.
And we'll do this. Cool.
XRMA.
Oh yeah, that's right. XR.
I just like doing it first because you don't have to go back up and add a bullet.
Right. Honestly, the author is me.
There you go.
Nope. Don't really need it. Tags. Common. Cool. And the source is my news essay.
So I'd probably link the name of the essay.
Okay, cool.
So one thing that is actually going to be really helpful for you that I've started doing is copying the contents of your old articles into Roam and linking them into different ideas, because then you get reminded of things you've already written that you've forgotten about.
Right.
Which happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
So eventually you'll fill out your News in the Age of Abundance page with the article you actually wrote, and then you can link it into everything, and then you'll be able to like really quickly quote yourself in future articles, which is kind of nifty.
Cool.
So go ahead and scroll down. Let's see how that image came through, because it might not have. All right, it didn't work. All right, so go ahead to where the image should be and delete that. And then let's go back to Evernote. And then let's go to where that image is.
Yep.
Is there any other way to open it? Like, can you open it on its own? Can you go to the source? Like, what happens if you right click on it?
Yeah, I can save as.
Yeah, that's fine. It's more steps than I'd like, but that'll work.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to just drag that in from your downloads.
I needed to, needs to be that .jpg. Thought that happened automatically.
Yeah, just hit don't show again.
Cool. Great.
All right, there you go.
Do images slow down your Roam?
No.
Cool.
There's really no performance issues anymore as far as I've run into. I think maybe if you make like a massive, massive, book length page, you might have some problems, but I'm not running into any slowness anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, not a ton of other stuff to show on this one. I mean, let me think if there's anything else that we didn't get to that I'd want to call out. Because at this point, you're in like a really good place to start just slowly moving stuff over on an as needed basis. But I'm actually just going to go look through the course materials and see if there's anything that we should have touched on.
Cool.
Maybe the last thing I'll show you where this stuff gets really powerful is queries. So like go to your daily notes page quickly.
Okay.
And then go down a line and type /query. Just start typing it and it should, and then just pick that first one and then replace XA with like politics, capital P, because it's got to match the page, yeah. And then replace XB with quotes, capital Q.
Wow.
So this is something you can do from any page, is you can run these queries across your database to find any time you've like used links together. So as you add tons of articles and books and lots of quotes and other notes and things, this makes it really, really fast to pull in anytime you've used certain combinations of things. Because you can also, it follows all the normal logic. So you can do and, or, right? You can do not. So right. You could say like all quotes that include politics, but not America.
Yep.
And you can even do dates. So if you're looking for like tasks, you could just look for tasks that are between a certain date range. So like as an example here, like when I boot up my Roam in the morning, the first thing I do is I I pull in this daily dashboard, which has this query that it's like a really robust query, but what it does is everything that is a to-do and a TP for top priority that is between today and last week. So like my top priorities for the last week. But I could also change this to like next week and last week, so I can see the upcoming stuff too. Do something like that. It's not gonna be any results. And then this is like my normal tasks. So any to-do that is not a TP, so not a top priority between today and last month. So any to-dos I've had from the last month, like show them right here. And this way I can make my to-dos basically anywhere and just tag them with today's date. And they'll always show up when I turn on my Roam for the day, and I won't like lose any of my tasks, which can be kind of easy to do if you don't have something like this set up. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, like doing morning pages, right? I always love this demo because I can just like pop this up in the sidebar and be like, all right, like, what am I excited about? I'll like pull this in and say like, super excited to be recording this with David. And, now when I go to my morning pages and I look at references for what am I excited about, like, oh, on September 16th, I was excited about recording this thing with David. On August 28th, I was excited about my workshop with Tiago, right? Like there's these kind of like cool ways you start using your embeds and links between pages to see how stuff evolves over time. One other cool thing I'll show you, because I think I've been working on this for the last week, and it finally came together in a way that I really like. So, but I'm still migrating into it, is I created this page called TI for topic ideas. And what I've been doing now is whenever I have an idea for like a new topic to write about or something, I'll create a page for it, and then I'll fill in this metadata. And what this does is it says, okay, here's an idea of a thing that I want to talk about. And it's a TI and it's IP for in progress, and NS is not started. And then it adds a Twitter thread, a blog post, a YouTube video, and this should say Nat Chat, not it says Natcast. And then I can add a bunch of notes, right, on like some ideas for it. And then I can use those notes to like write a Twitter thread here. So this is like a Twitter thread based on those notes. A lot of them are linked references, but a lot of them are just like other text that I wanted to include or not include. And this actually published it before we started. So I'd change this to hashtag done. Or maybe it's lowercase. There we go. But what's kind of neat about this is you've got like all these ideas floating around in your database, right? And if you wanted to quickly see like, oh, what are all the blog posts that are not started, you could go here and do that. Or, you know, what are like the Twitter threads that are not started? It's like, oh, I've still got this one. I've got my notes on it here, but I haven't really like worked on the Twitter thread forward at all, but the blog post is already in progress, right? So if you're trying to like repurpose your content and work it through an editorial calendar, this is kind of a neat way to do it. But I'm still ironing it out, so I haven't like talked about it that much on other things. But I've really, really liked it over the last couple of weeks to start organizing ideas on stuff. Because I can also like, so this is a query for TI and in progress, but then I can see all of like the other random TIs down here.
Advice for an ambitious young person. Write online.
Start publishing, start using Rome.
So you want to do the Readwise integration?
Oh yeah, let's go over that quickly.
Also, like I have sort of a meta question for you is how do you learn these things? Like, are you surfing on Reddit looking for strategies? Are you sort of pressing / in Rome and just sort of following where it takes you? Do you develop like an understanding of the Rome language as you begin to use it where these things get really obvious? How are you thinking about expanding your frontier of knowledge within Rome?
Me or people watching the video?
I'm asking you because I think that will then lead into people watching, although of course people watching will get at least to a 7 out of 10 by taking Effortless Output in Rome, which you teach.
Yeah, that was going to be my cheeky answer. But, no, in terms of how I figure some of this stuff out, Twitter probably. So like the Rome Twitter account is really, really good, and they retweet cool stuff that people are doing in Rome. And so I just like that as the best way to surface knowledge. But a lot of it too is just me playing around and experimenting with stuff. Like that template I just showed you for the topic ideas, like I just sort of came up with that just from being really like deep in Rome. And it's like, you put it really well when you described it as a programming language for thought. It's like the more you use the language and the more you play around with it, the more fluent you get in it. And then the more you're able to construct new things with it. So a lot of it's just trial and error and patience and practice.
Cool. Readwise?
Yeah, let's do the Readwise. So if you go into your Readwise, sign in, and I'm going to copy over my metadata for you.
Anything that I should change here that's different?
Yeah, so I go and see that thing where it says customize Rome page metadata?
Yep.
So turn that on, and then let's see. Yeah, so I would go ahead and delete that and then copy in what I just shared with you in the Zoom chat.
So where did you find all this?
So I actually kind of helped the Readwise guys make this integration. I didn't help build anything, but helped like talk them through what I would really want to see in it, and then helped them do some of the like last beta testing before they released it. And so they were just like super cool because they were like, all right, what would be the ideal way to export info into Rome from books and articles? And this is kind of like what we came up with. And it's just like, it's incredible, dude. I mean, you just finish an article and then it's already in your database formatted based on how you do metadata, however you want. Like, it's great. So if you ever change how you do metadata, you could just come into your Readwise settings and set it up to fit your new metadata structure. And then it would all like, yeah, see, that's perfect. Friday finds backlog. And now you're just automatically going to have all these things show up in your backlog, and it's going to take you like 10 seconds to write your newsletter each week.
Wow. Amazing.
The last thing I would do is, you see where it says page title template, and it's like curly title and then highlights. Just delete the word highlights. You don't need it. Okay. And just leave the title in.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you should be good. Automatic export highlighting location. And then I think they're just going to grab your last 10.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they'll do all future ones. So scroll back up. Start export.
Now, could I import every article I've ever read, or is that actually not a good idea?
You could, if you wanted to, you could go back and just check everything that you wanted to automatically send in for you. And that would be one way to hack it. It's totally up to you. It's not a terrible idea if you don't want to copy and paste stuff over, and if you don't have a lot of formatting your in your Evernote. So it's something to consider. I've been thinking about doing that too.
What's the downside?
I mean, the only downside is that then you're going to have like 1,000 things in your inbox. You might not care about all of them anymore. So,
oh, got it.
Right. Like what I would do is I would actually just go back to like, don't click back, but the page that we were just on, the Roam export page, just when you scroll to the bottom, you can just check things that you want exported into Roam. I would just go through that and check anything that you wanted to move over for you.
Cool.
And then it will just do this.
Awesome.
So,
yeah. So then now do you want to go through the inbox? And
we don't have to, but let's show everyone just so they can see. And so
yeah,
I can play with it.
I'm very curious to see what you recommend for once, like if we go back to my daily notes, what do we do? Do we go to the inbox?
You're in the room. You're in the wrong one.
No, I'm in the right one. Cool.
You're in the right one. Yeah. So yeah, I would just go to inbox probably.
So what's the best way to do that? Would I search top right?
Yeah, I do Command U and then inbox.
Command U is search. Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Boom. And now you got all these things to read. So just pop one open. Huh. I know who recommended this.
Dude, some scrappy newsletter.
Yeah.
It was good. It was nice and short.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, and then what I would do is just expand that bullet for the highlights first synced.
Cool.
And drag them up to below the Friday finds because they don't really need to be nested like this.
Okay, so I take this.
Yeah, and just drag them out of that nesting.
There we go.
But now you nested them under Friday finds.
So I need to take them out. Okay.
Yeah, and just you could do Shift Tab too, or drag it out. Okay. It's up to you.
There we go.
Boom. And then you can delete that readwise first synced line. You don't need that. You need that one. I'm talking about the very bottom bullet, the very bottom block. Yeah, you can delete that. Cool. And then, yeah, you just add some tags, you interlink anything you want. Put those on the proper tags line.
Yep. So all these, got it. So all these go above, and that's the change that we made. Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Great. So then I just go through the inbox. So do you do this as part of daily routine?
Not so much daily. I do it as like I do it when I'm writing the medley.
Got it.
So because that's when I need to like process the stuff that I've read and figure out what I want to include. So that's a really good time for me to go through it. Usually like Friday mornings.
Cool. So the next step for me would be to, now that these things are moved over, the next step would be for me to go through that inbox when I write my Friday Finds newsletter, then to move articles in that are particularly meaningful, to move my ideas from Evernote into Roam that are impactful, and then just go back through your course and just go through it again, probably third or fourth time, and just say, okay, let's figure out what works, and maybe start with content and then end with to-do list at the end.
Yeah. And check out the new course too, because it like the first one was very just like, here's like the functions of Roam and how they work. The new one is a little bit more like what we're doing now of like, hey, you have a goal and you want to do something, like here's how to organize your knowledge on a topic you care about. So it might jive with you a little bit better on the way it's presented. But
cool. Yeah, I think that's a good place to close.
Sweet. Let's do it, man. Let's go play some spike ball and go swimming.
Yeah. Thanks, Nat.
All right. Talk soon, dude. Or
bye.
See you in like 2 seconds.
You're downstairs.